Boris.
You did see
Swing
Boris.
by. Yeah. I was just wondering if there's a particular reason that you decided to set it in London rather than just this anonymous
So we
city.
can get a UK tax relief. The joke of the whole, here's what's so silly. Because, yes, you have to click many things to something to qualify. Not just actors, the fact that, you know, I was involved, blah, blah. So in the UK, in London, and then we got there, and of course they drive on the other side of the road there. So that's why we did find the one London bus that was in Bucharest. It then was taken away from us, so we found the second one, which didn't exist until we found it. Bucharest is a very mysterious place to work. And so everything was designed to be on the other side. So it is your human right. Drive on the right, is what Boris is saying. So in the end, it wasn't necessary because all those Twizzies drive on any side. And the golf carts were the same thing. So it was a lot of work for very little. But you recognised Boris in his go-to. Thank you.
It's Boris.
And you felt he was London, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's all worth it. There's a gentleman just there to pass the mic, and then there's a gentleman further back as well.
Thank you. I enjoyed the film a great deal as well, and I couldn't help but think of Brazil. And I see certain affinities with it, and I think I see things that are different, and I wonder whether you intend us to see similarities and what it is that you've maybe changed your mind about that you didn't say in Brazil.
I mean, I was very worried that people like you would be out there waiting for me. No, it was, because there are similarities, no question about it. And I really, well, several things. I remember our first screenings, people say, well, it's like Brazil, Ministry of Information, political surveillance. And it's not. It's about corporate surveillance. The thing that is similar about the two things is Brazil was about the way I saw the world then in 1984 and a half. And this was kind of the way I was looking at the world now. So that's the similarity. But there's a difference between a political institution spying on you and corporation sans frontières. Is different. And the difference is Sam is a dreamer. Cohen is not a dreamer. And all these things are going on, and there's a difference between a fantasy world that you're imagining in your own mind and a virtual world that is built out there, which you may or may not have some control over. So, yes, I really was aware of it. That's also why I tried to make the real world bright and breezy, unlike the world outside in Brazil. But you caught me, thank you.
There's someone, hand behind you there. No.
First of all, just thanks very much for the film and for all the other ones as well. As a filmmaker of your generation, and also as somebody who's worked throughout your career in Hollywood, and just following on from what the gentleman was saying about budgets, what's your view on crowdsourcing, crowdfunding? Do you see that as a viable alternative to the kind of traditional fundraising for Hollywood movies, especially working at your level?
I keep this one in my back pocket. We're starting work on Don Quixote again. And if the money that I think we've got at the moment vaporizes like it has so many times in the past, this is one time I would go for crowdfunding. I think it's very hard to keep asking the public to, fund people's films. Ultimately, I think it's cheating. So I'm hesitant to do it, but if things go wonky this time, I will go shamelessly out and beg.
We will be going around the bucket. Anyone's got any spare change? Anyone on this side of the room that I've been ignoring that wants to? Yes, right there. Yeah, guys, just come.
Yeah, so what about Don Quixote? Is it alive and well?
Is Don Quixote alive and well?
Well, 3 of the legs are on the horse. I've been in Spain a couple of times in the last month and a half, check out locations. The Canary Islands may be our salvation. 39% tax relief. I've got a 29-year-old Spanish producer as well. He doesn't know better yet. He will. So at the moment, the plan is to start shooting the last week of September.
How will that affect the up-and-coming Monty Python tour?
Well, that's just a little thing we got to do in the interim while doing more interesting things.
Anybody else? Lots of people. There and then there.
Wait, get him out.
It's the mic, it's coming down.
Okay.
Faster.
Thanks.
I really enjoyed your film. It was rather mind-blowing for me, and I'm not sure how I can formulate this question I have in my head. It's just kind of a collection of thoughts. But
Best.
I'll try. Well, I just found it quite fascinating how in the film there's all this religious imagery and this kind of the sacred space that kind of bears host to a digital space that Quinn is using to do his research, and there's such different contrasting spaces, the virtual and sacred, and in the middle of everything it's chaos, like he's trying to figure out how all is nothing. And I just found that kind of contrast and the parallelism fascinating, and before I lose any sleep tonight, I just wanted to know what sort of thought maybe went into that kind of depiction and that sort of representation in the film, if that makes sense.
It was all sheer chance, everything was nobody thought.
Alright, so I'm just reading into it.
We had no discussions about what we were doing, it just appeared magically. Of course we had lots to talk about. Okay, if you're going to have a church, what's interesting about the church, it's Protestant, Catholic, and Orthodox, all in one Christian church, ladies and gentlemen. That was the interesting thing about being in Bucharest. And you've got, yeah, it's laden with religious imagery. I mean, sleeping amongst the pipes. He stands there, there's San Sebastian riddled with slings and arrows. You know, it's all that. But it was kind of like the technology has become, in a sense, the new religion, whether people, you could say, worship it, or they certainly believe in it to the extent that it tends to take over more and more, and the old faith-based religions seem to be floating away. They don't seem to be as important. Somehow technology is going to save us. Well, I question that. I mean, things like the call, of course, is like, if you notice on the altarpiece behind, his workstation is John the Baptist and Jesus at the River Jordan, and there's the Holy Spirit in the form of a dove. Call. Pigeons. Call. It's all, so there's the Holy Spirit. It's all that cheap religious symbolism is there. But it really is about the fact that this other has taken over us. Tweeting. You know, we don't have... Who's got time to pray when you've got a tweet again? My friends say about me, you're caught in this whirlwind of information or selfies. Selfies. I mean, the American Indians understood that the camera, every time a picture's taken, steals a bit of your soul. Any souls left anymore? Or are we just axons and dendrites, you know, just connecting tissues? Do we exist anymore? That was, for me, one of the things about the film, to look at, can you be alone? Can you be alone to find out who you are? In the case of Cohen, he's an idiot. I mean, waiting for a phone call. But nevertheless, it is that aloneness, and well, doesn't quite work for him. We keep throwing real people at him, and hopefully he becomes more human. He falls in love. He cares about the boy. All these things, and we take it all away from him. Back to the old religion. Job, wake up. Here's another bit of boil.
Thanks very much.